Hi everyone! Today I am going to show you how to make my version of a Crunchwrap Supreme, which I call a spin wrap. The recipe today is going to include diced onions and a bell pepper. I decided to use orange today. Some minced jalapenos and chopped lettuce. I have how-to videos on how to cut every single one of those items, so please visit moreveggiesmom.com and look at the how-to section. Also, if you're wondering where I got my new cutting board, which is beautiful and doesn't slide, please visit blackforestcustomcarpentry.com or their Facebook page. And no, they did not pay me to say this. The first thing you want to do when you start this recipe is press 1 pound of tofu. I've already done that and I've just put it in a bowl here, it's waiting for me. And then get everything chopped. And then we're preheating a pan on medium-high heat, and it's just about there, and we will add our tofu. Then you are going to want one of these. That is a masher. If you don't have one, you can use a fork. It just takes much longer. You can mash your tofu in a bowl. I just do it in my pan, but if you have a nonstick pan, that might be bad for your pan. So just be aware of that. This is nice and warm now. I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to mash this until it completely crumbles into pieces. Now, I've said it before, but tofu really does get a bad rap. Tofu is just soybean curds, so it is actually a really good way to incorporate vegetables into your diet a little bit more. They take on the flavor of whatever you're mixing them with, so you can flavor them any way you want. And as long as you're not eating it in excess or you're allergic to soybeans, it's actually quite healthy for you. When I was preheating my pan, I did forget to say I did have 3 tablespoons of oil in there. And I've got that nice and crumbled now, as you can see, and I'm going to add half a cup of salsa, 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning, and a little bit of salt. Here's my little bit of salt going in there. Just not a little. We're just going to stir that all together. And we want this to get crunchy, so we're going to cook it for quite a while, but stirring only every maybe 5-7 minutes, depending on how quickly it's cooking for you, because every stove is different. You want the bottom side to get nice and brown and crispy, and then you want to stir and flip it. Alright, I have that all nice and incorporated now, so I will let this sit while I come over here and work on a cashew cheese. I have half a cup of water in a small blender and 1 cup of cashews, which I have rinsed. They get a little bit sticky when they're wet. I believe this is a 4-ounce. 1 4-ounce can of diced chilies. And 1 teaspoon of taco seasoning, and this is how I do my taco seasoning. I just buy these little packets because I don't use it very often. Put the lid on there. We're going to blend it till it's smooth. It'll take 1 to 5 minutes depending on your blender, and you may have to stop it and scrape down your sides. Alright, that's finished. It only took my machine about 1 minute, but like I said, it will vary depending on the machine. I have another large pan over here, and I've started it to preheat at a medium-high heat, and my tofu is ready to flip and stir. So, flip and stir. So, I'll show you a closer look at that. So here is my tofu. You can see that it has some nice dark brown crunchy pieces. You can also probably see that it has a couple of burnt pieces too. That is because there was a hot spot in the middle that I did not pay close enough attention to. So I'm not going to pretend that I am perfect. I certainly am not. So just be aware of things like that and try not to burn yours. That pan that we had preheating is nice and hot now. So I'm going to get my peppers and onion, including the jalapeno pepper, and get it into this pan. Really hot. We're going to get this moving quickly like a stir fry. And we just want it to be crisp tender. And it's okay if you get a little bit of browning. This will only take just a few minutes. So here are the onions and peppers. I was stirring pretty constantly, but I would pause for just a few seconds in between stirs to give them those little charred spots. Now we are going to add 1 can of drained, rinsed black beans, and we will mix that all up and it will be ready to go. The last thing we need are some avocados. Depending on how many you're making, you'll need 1 or 2. Spread it around, twist and open. Do this part on a cutting board if you're talented and afraid to get cut. It'll come right off there if you just push it in and twist it. And it comes right off too. We're going to slice these. Also, this part is easier on a cutting board. Or safer, anyway. If it were easier, I would do it on the cutting board. Just do slices like that, and then a spoon is going to take this right out. So you can put slices into your wraps. Ta-da! You can see our assembly line here. We have garden spinach herb wraps, corn tostadas, lettuce, avocado, sliced olives, our peppers and beans, our tofu crumble, cheese, the cheese that we made from the cashews. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. You can just do regular cheese. And some salsa. Everything comes together really easily now. I've got my large tortilla here. I'm going to put just a little bit of my tofu right in the middle. And then my peppers and beans. Get some olives. You can stack this up with whatever you would like. These are just what I prefer. A little bit of cheese on there. Salsa. Some avocados. Lettuce. And you can stuff these pretty full, honestly. It just depends on how many you want to make, how far you want this to stretch, you know, how big your family is and how many people you're making for. But this is like a kid-size one. I would probably cut it in half for my younger kids though. Take that tostada and just shove it right down. Kind of smash it till everything is right at the edge of your tostada. And here's where it gets tricky. Okay, so you are going to fold one side over and you're going to fold it over itself and hold that down. And just keep doing it. Just folding it over the top of itself, around in this spiral. The very end here is where it gets tricky because you have to hold everything down and you've got this part that's popping up and then you just tuck it underneath. It may look complicated, but once you get it, it's going to be awesome. You're like, oh, this is actually a lot easier than I thought. And your friends and your family are all just going to be sitting there staring at it like, how did you do that? That looks so professional. You are going to place this seam side down on a pan preheated to medium heat, sprayed with cooking spray. When it's nice and brown and crunchy, you'll flip it over and brown it on the other side and it is done. And here is our completed spin wrap. My husband came up with that because it looks like it's spinning and it's made with a spinach tortilla. He was very clever. This is so infused with vegetables between our spinach tortilla, our corn tostada, our black beans and peppers, our, oh, what else did we have? Oh, tofu. Learn to love tofu, you guys. It's bean curds. It's good for you. And your kids are going to love this.